Ever stumble across like a book, one that's so strange, so different, that it just kind of sticks with you?
Oh, absolutely. I know the feeling.
Well, that's what we're looking at today with the Book of Smokeless Fire and this grimoire and this magic system. It's a lot, and honestly, some of it's kind of unsettling.
Yeah, when you get into summoning 72 different, essentially demons, it's going to get weird.
And the thing is, we've got the actual book right here, the Book of Smokeless Fire by S. Ben Quain. But then, on top of that, there's this excerpt online that backs it up.
It backs up a lot of it, yeah.
Okay, so let's start with this excerpt.
Right, so this excerpt, it's on script. It goes into a manuscript called Miscelaneo de Salomon. So picture this. Spain, 1969, this big old palace is getting renovated, right?
I'm trying to picture it, yeah.
Workers find this walled-off room hidden away, like untouched, for centuries. And inside is this Miscelaneo de Salomon manuscript from 1428 about King Solomon and how he interacted with, get this, 72 malevolent jinn.
Okay, hold on. So this Miscelaneo de Salomon, it's a real thing.
They even named the people who owned the palace when they found it. Rafael Galagrilla, Gocoechea, and his wife, Luisa Tejerina. So it's not just some made-up story.
That's wild. And then the Book of Smokeless Fire connects this to Lovecraft's Necronomicon.
Which, come on, that's got to make you think, right?
For sure. I mean, both books, they're super mysterious, supposedly from Arabia, and both are about summoning these powerful otherworldly beings.
It really makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, Lovecraft had heard something about this Miscelaneo de Salomon when he was doing research on all that ancient lore.
Right. And you say Arabian, you say jinn, people are going to think genies, wishes, all that.
Right, like Genies in a Lamp, 1001 Nights, all those classic stories. But the Book of Smokeless Fire, it takes a different approach.
Not exactly a genie you want to wish on, then.
Yeah, according to Quain, these jinn, they're all about chaos, about destruction. He says they're forces of nature and not the nice kind.
Not the kind you want to mess with. All right, well, let's get into this Quain character and what he calls fringe magic.
I like to get into this Quain character, right?
Yeah.
Because his whole deal, this fringe magic, it's something else. He mixes traditional magic practices with, and I'm not making this up, quantum physics.
Quantum physics, seriously. Okay, now that's not something you hear every day.
He says magic is all about manipulating what he calls the consensual reality matrix, like the very foundation of what we consider real.
Okay, bending reality to your will. I get why some of this is unsettling.
It's heady stuff. He says our intentions, our thoughts, they vibrate and interact with this consensual reality matrix, and that's how magic happens.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. This consensual reality matrix, these vibrations, it's a lot to take in. Is there any way to make this, I don't know, make more sense?
You ever stare at one of those optical illusions, the ones where the image looks like it's moving, even though you know it's not?
Oh, yeah, those things always mess me up.
Exactly. That's what Quain's getting at. He says certain geometric shapes, triangles, circles, they can actually impact how we perceive things, like a visual representation of intent, and they play a huge role in magic.
So we're not just talking about spells and incantations, but shapes too.
Exactly. He goes really in-depth on the power of these shapes, how they can be hypnotizing, how they can amplify your intent when you're, doing magic.
Like they're practically spells in themselves.
And then there's the blood magic, which is well, that's a whole other thing.
All right, he did warn everyone.
Yeah.
So blood magic, what's Quain's deal with that?
Well, he believes that blood, since it's such a primal life force, it acts as a powerful conduit, amplifies your energy, and allows you to connect with these jinns.
Yeah, definitely not for the squeamish. It's becoming pretty clear that the Book of Smokeless Fire isn't messing around.
Oh, he's serious about it.
Yeah.
Quain's very upfront that this is some intense stuff, that there are real consequences to doing this kind of magic.
So he's basically saying, hey, if you're going to play with this fire, you better be ready to get burned.
That's one way to put it. He's definitely challenging us to think about the price of power, especially when you're dealing with beings as old and as chaotic as these jinns.
Speaking of which, these 72 Infernal Djinn, each with their own powers, their own role to play. We're going to need to unpack that. Okay, so 72 Infernal Djinn. Where do we even begin with that?
Well, it's important to remember, Quain says that these jinn, they're not good or evil. They're forces of chaos, of destruction. You use them, but you don't really control them,
So less like genie in a bottle, more like, I don't know, a hurricane or something.
Right, exactly. They've got their own powers, and Quain says you can direct those powers, but you can't completely control them.
Okay, so 72 of them, he must have them organized somehow. How does he break that down?
He divides them into 3 classes. First, you've got the ones that can, mess you up physically,
Yeah.
inflict pain, that kind of thing.
Oh, it's like curses.
Kind of, but Quayne,
Huh.
he'd say even that, it's about energy, about disrupting the consensual reality matrix. It's not like a direct curse. It's more like manipulating energy to get what you want.
Right, right. Okay, so physical stuff. What else?
Then there's the djinn that can influence your mind, your thoughts, even how you see things.
Whoa. Okay, now that's getting a little creepy. So, like, mind control. Illusions.
He doesn't call it mind control exactly.
Yeah.
He says it's more like humans are already suggestible, right?
Mm.
Think about those shapes we talked about, the ones that are like spells.
Yeah, yeah.
He says those can be used to kind of lower your mental defenses, make you more open to suggestion, and the djinn, they just amplify that.
So it's less about taking over your mind, more like nudging you in a certain direction.
Yeah, exactly. Like, have you ever seen an ad or listened to someone speak and it just makes you want something?
Totally. It's like they plant the idea in your head.
Right. Quine says these jinns, that's what they do. They work with what's already there, your desires, your fears, and they use it.
Okay, that's both fascinating and kind of terrifying. All right, so physical and mental, what's the third kind?
This one's a bit harder to pin down. Quine calls it general misfortune. Like, they mess with your luck, basically.
It's just bad luck.
He wouldn't say luck exactly. He'd say it's about being aligned with the consensual reality matrix. These jinn, they disrupt that alignment. They mess with the flow, make things go wrong.
So it's less about bad luck and more about like sabotaging your reality.
Exactly. And that's where his ideas about intent and vibration come back in. He says you can direct these jinn, tell them who to target, and they'll cause chaos for that person.
So like agents of chaos, they're not controlling everything, but they're pushing things in a certain direction.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes them so dangerous. You never know exactly what they'll do.
Okay, so let's talk about actually summoning these jinn. What's involved? What do you need?
It's not as easy as, rubbing a lamp. Quine has a whole ritual for each jinn, very specific. Timing, location, tools, everything matters.
Like what kind of tools? Give me an example.
A lot of them are things you'd see in, like, ceremonial magic, a brass incense burner, special parchment for writing the incantations, a consecrated dagger.
Wait, a dagger? What's that for?
Oh, it's not for, hurting anything. It's more about focus. You use it to direct your will during the ritual.
That's symbolic.
Yeah, Quine says the physical stuff, it's all about channeling your intent, your energy. He focuses a lot on visualization, chanting, using your voice to vibrate at the same frequency as the jinn.
So you really got to be into it, not just going through the motions.
Exactly. And that's where the blood magic comes in. Quine says blood, it's powerful. It's a way to amplify your intention, make that connection with the jinn stronger.
Okay, that's a bit much for me, I gotta say. So you've got your tools, your blood, your chanting. Then what? How do you know it worked?
Quine says the energy shifts. You can feel it. The air gets heavy, it might get cold. You feel like you're being watched.
That sounds terrifying.
He also talks about, depending on the jinn, you might see things like shadows, or hear voices, or even see energy swirling around.
Whoa, okay, but that's assuming everything goes right. What if you mess up the ritual? Or accidentally summon the wrong jinn?
Quine warns about that constantly. He's very clear that you have to be precise, focused. One wrong word, one mistake with the timing, and it could be bad.
No pressure there.
He's not messing around. He says this kind of magic, it's not for everyone. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be able to handle whatever happens.
Because what happens could be, well, 72 different kinds of bad.
Exactly. And that's what makes the Book of Smokeless Fire so different. It's not just a book of spells. It's like he's trying to warn us about messing with things we don't understand.
Like that saying, be careful what you wish for, except here it's be careful what you summon.
Right. And that leads us to one of the most interesting and maybe disturbing parts of Quine's whole deal.
Yeah.
How these jinn fit into his whole consensual reality matrix thing.
Okay, before we go full philosophy here, let's take a second. When we come back, we'll get into Quine's theories about reality, about what's real, and how these jinn play a role in all of it. Okay, so back to this whole consensual reality matrix thing. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's fascinating stuff.
So just to recap, what exactly is it again? It's like we're all living in a simulation or something.
It's not a simulation like in a computer, not exactly. Quine's saying that what we call reality, it's not some fixed thing. It's more like we're all creating it together,
Yeah.
Our beliefs, what we expect, our experiences, they all build it up.
Okay, so we're all making reality, but where do these jinn fit in? I mean, they aren't exactly playing by our rules.
That's the whole point.
Hmm.
Quine says these jinns, they're outside of all that. They're ancient, pure chaos. They were here before we started building up our ideas of order, and they don't have to follow those rules.
Because they're like, I don't know, a wrench in the gears of it all.
Exactly. He says when you interact with them, when you use their energy, you're kind of hacking the matrix. You're messing with the fabric of reality itself.
And that's where the magic comes in, right? It's not just about spells, it's about actually changing reality.
That's it. Those shapes, the blood magic, the chanting, it's all about focusing your intent, your energy, so you can tap into that chaotic Djinn energy.
So it's like tuning a radio, finding the right frequency to connect with the Djinn you want.
Perfect analogy.
Uh,
It's not about bossing them around, but about finding that resonance, that connection, and then using it.
Okay, but if that's true, if we're all capable of this, why isn't everyone out there, I don't know, moving things with their minds?
Quine thought about that. He
Well-
said we all have that potential, but most of us, we never learn how to use it. We're taught from when we're little that reality is solid, that the rules are fixed.
So we're all playing the game the way we're told to play it.
Yeah, but Quine's saying those rules, they aren't set in stone. They can be bent, they can be broken. You just got to know how.
That's pretty intense. But if that's true, why aren't there more people doing it?
He said there's pushback. Like any system, the consensual reality matrix tries to protect itself. When someone starts to see through it, to tap into that power, it fights back.
Fights back how?
Bad luck, accidents, things going wrong. He says those could be signs. We're actually on the right track. You're shaking things up, making the system nervous.
So the more bad luck I have, the more I should get into magic.
Not exactly. It's more about being aware. Those moments, they could be telling you something. They could be signs you're starting to break free from the illusion.
Man, this is deep stuff.
Yeah.
So what's the takeaway here for everyone listening? What's the Book of Smokeless Fire all about?
I think it's a challenge. Quane's saying, don't take reality for granted. Question everything. Test your limits. You might be capable of more than you think.
He's basically saying, here are the cheat codes to reality. Use them wisely.
Right. It's a grimoire, yeah, but it's more than that. It's about philosophy, about what's real, about what we're all capable of.
It makes you wonder, what's magic and what's real? Maybe the line's not so clear. Well, we've gone from old books to quantum physics to, the nature of reality itself.
And all thanks to the Book of Smokeless Fire.
Exactly. If you're as intrigued by this as we are, check out the sources, do some digging, and who knows, maybe you'll start to see reality a little differently. Until next time, keep asking questions and keep diving deep.